So anonymous Facebook user says, how do you bring a conversation back from serious to fun and flirty without it being awkward? Well, so one, I wouldn't overly, so there's something called a segue, right? I've actually taught about communication like this because this is what I do. But there's something called a segue, right? And so a segue is just a way to get into another kind of conversation. And I wouldn't worry about it being weird or awkward, right? I would just segue into something else, right? And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. One way is by saying anyway. So anyway, like tell me something, right? And basically the anyway is saying we're switching conversations, right? We're switching the tone and topic of what's going on. So anyway, tell me what were you doing earlier today? So anyway, tell me, you still haven't told me what your favorite color is. So anyway, you said you have a cat, but you haven't told me his name yet. Like, why don't you tell me his name, right? And or whatever, right? You can do that. That's one way. Another way is just by asking questions, right? And you can do it, like the more you do it, one of the things about communication is that there's a lot of nuance, right? So there's a lot of little things that you can do in communication that the only way that you can really get to that point where you understand and you can play with the nuance that you have is by doing it over and over and over again, right? So one of the ways that you can segue is by using questions. So you use a question, and let's say that you guys were having a serious conversation. You can ask him a question that's like over the top and ridiculous, right? And usually that'll break the tension that's going on, right? And so you ask him a question that's in line with what you guys were just talking about, but you make it something that's so ridiculous and so off the wall and so doesn't make any sense that it breaks the tension, and all of a sudden you guys start laughing, and then you're like, okay, and then you go into some other conversation, some other question, some other kind of topic that you're into, right? That's another way that you can do it. But like I said, that requires nuance. But just asking questions, just changing the topic by asking questions will change the tone, right? And if you ask a friendlier, funner, more interesting question, that can change the tone. You can do it through like a pattern. They call it a pattern interrupt, where you just do something, where you change like your environment, right? So if you're sitting down and you're having a really serious conversation, or you're standing up and you're having a really serious conversation, you'd be like, hey, let's go over to the living room, or let's go over and sit in those chairs over there, or let's go play that game, or, whatever, right? And you just change the environment, right? That changes that. It creates a pattern interrupt where all of a sudden you're shifting the focus and you're moving to something else, and you're kind of metaphorically moving the conversation as well into a different arena. And so then you ask another question where you're like, okay, so you never told me, right? Like tea or coffee, right? Or whatever, right? You can have any kind of question. You never told me, what do you like better? Hamburgers or pulled pork? What do you like better? Milkshakes or cotton candy? I don't know. You can just play with it and make up things and just have fun with it. And what you're doing, whenever you're switching things, is you're just trying to change, the kind of direction that things are going. And so you can do it with questions. You can do it with kind of like an anyway segue kind of thing. You can do it with an actual physical movement. So those are the three things that I'm giving you right now. I hope that answered your question there, anonymous Facebook user.